Hope everyone had a great weekend. Hope you guys joined me yesterday. A 3-0 on the bases. Two of those plays were in Major League Baseball. I'm now 8-2 in my last 10 Major League Baseball picks. I am looking at plays for today. I'll probably have a 4 or 5%er when it's all said and done. So check that out at WagerTalk. But here, this is where we get into a couple of free Major League Baseball picks. This is where we get into some guys that might be flying under the radar. That's the name of the show. The point of the show is to give out a couple of free Major League Baseball selections on players that maybe, are not the main guys on the board. They're guys that are just being called up. Maybe they're with a new team. Maybe they don't have a huge sample size. And my goal is to educate you on these players because oftentimes that is where the value is in Major League Baseball. So I want to start in the early game, 4 p.m. Eastern. It is the wraparound, I guess you would call it a daytime finale, though on the East Coast, it's still at 4 o'clock, 4:10 Eastern to be exact. The Astros are still in Seattle. They are looking to avoid a sweep. They're taking on the Seattle Mariners. And for the third time, this show has only been going on since the beginning of the season, but we are already talking about Mike Burrows for the third time. And I guess this is sort of the, we'll call it the rubber match, or, I guess what's going to decide if we got this right or got this wrong in the early going. So on one of our very first segments, very first under the radar segments, we talked about Mike Burrows. He's now on the Astros. He was part of a 3-team trade between the Pirates, Rays, and Astros that landed him in Houston with a big opportunity. He was a guy that I think was sort of lost in the shuffle in Pittsburgh. They have so much pitching. They needed to make a move to bolster their offense. They did. And the casualty of that move was Mike Burrows, who goes to Houston now. Houston's had injuries to their rotation. Houston lost Framber Valdez in free agency. And suddenly Houston needs starting pitching. So Mike Burrows gets this big opportunity to start the season in Houston's rotation. Has it gone great yet? Nah, not really. You look at the surface numbers, the ERA and the WHIP are high, but I'm still a believer that Mike Burrows sort of like holds down this rotation spot. He's pitched into the 5th inning, or he's completed 5 innings in all 3 starts. He's pitched into the 6th inning twice. Last time out in Colorado, he scattered 8 hits. He only gave up 3 runs. We were wrong about the strikeouts in the Colorado game, which to me was quite surprising because he made it into the 6th inning. And the way that the Rockies strike out against right-handed pitching, I would have thought for sure that we got to the 6 strikeouts in that game, but we didn't. 3 strikeouts, that one fell short. In his season opener against the Angels, we did get there. Over 5.5 strikeouts got there. He struck out 6 against the Angels. He struck out 6 against the Red Sox. I look at this 2 ways. You're looking at a very reasonable over 5.5 strikeouts. Again, I think that's even plus money some places. I think you could probably get a 5. Some sites may have 5 at like close to minus 110 or minus 110, minus 115. So that's a way to look. Another way I think you can look here is the outs over. Something Burrows has done in every game so far has been stay in the game. And he really hasn't had his best stuff yet. I felt like maybe he was battling altitude a little bit in the start at Coors Field, because again, he made it into the 6th. He didn't have his best stuff, but he still battled into the 6th inning. And I think that's something that should be pointed out here with Burrows. I don't think he's had his best stuff yet. At least, what he's shown he's capable of during his time with Pittsburgh. Hasn't had his best stuff yet, and yet he's hung around in each game. Even that opener. Gave up 5 runs against the Angels, but still made it 5 2/3. So I would give Burrows the outs over look. And also, that 5.5 strikeouts is cheaper than it was last time against the Rockies. His other 2 starts this year, where again, he didn't have his best stuff. 6 strikeouts against the Red Sox, 6 strikeouts against the Angels. And you're talking about a Mariners lineup that up until this series had not hit at all. So Seattle has hit to this point in this series. They're going for a sweep. I think Burrows might put it all together here. He's in a pitcher's park in T-Mobile Park. It's one of the hardest ballparks to hit a home run out of. So, he's given up 3 bombs this year, but it's a possibility that in this ballpark, they're not gonna leave the yard. Obviously, pitching at Coors, that's a home run friendly building, and then the other two starts being at home, that short porch in left field. Today's park is the hardest hit. It's arguably the hardest one to hit the ball out of in the entire league. So I still like Mike Burrows. We were right against the Angels on the strikeout prop. We were wrong against the Rockies on the strikeout prop. So I'm going to give both out. I don't know if I'm going to tag either one of these. So if you go to my free pick page on the WagerTalk site, I'll typically tag which one I like the best. But those would be the 2 ways I would look at this game. Burrows outs over, Burrows strikeouts over. If he pitches well, he's probably going to get both. And I'm still in on Burrows being a integral part of this Astros rotation, even though he has not gotten off to the best start. As far as Major League Baseball is concerned, I didn't get off to the best start those first, maybe 10 days of the season. I very much turned that around. I'm 8-2 in my last 10 baseball plays, went 2-0. I had White Sox plus 1.5 and the Orioles yesterday as part of a 3-0 day on the bases. A great week last week. We had one bad day on Friday. Otherwise, it was a really good week. I think we're seeing it well on the bases right now. I will have a best bet. I just haven't decided. I'm waiting to lock it in for a couple of reasons. When it gets locked in, it's either going to be a 4 or 5%. I'm ready to sort of up the ante a little bit after having such a good week last week. See if we can start hitting some of those higher rated selections. Yesterday, 3-0, all 3% plays. One of them was plus money. So nearly a 10-unit day on the bases. And I want to keep it going for you guys this week. So head on over to the WagerTalk site. I've got specials. We've got specials with the total basis guys. We still have that 6 days for the price of 3, which will run through the end of April, I believe. So check that out and jump on because we are going to make some money this baseball season. Let's try to make some money in this game. Nationals Pirates. I just did the total basis show with Brian Leonard and Tokyo Brandon. So if you want the full breakdown of this game, head on over and check out the replay. Spoiler alert, I love the Pirates. That should go without saying. I think I've said it on almost every show I've done this year that I think this Pirates team is really good. My free play for total bases. Again, this is not like something I'm telling you to go rush out and back, but part of total bases is we do a show parlay, and my leg of the parlay was the Pirates on the money line. Now that's minus 210. I don't think that's something that you should be betting straight. So I'm going to give you a prop in this game, which I think is actually going to be my favorite prop and the one I'll probably tag as a free pick on my page over at WagerTalk, and that is Connor Griffin to start doing something. I'm going to call it hits, runs, RBIs because the guy he's the ultimate 5-tool prospect. I don't think it's a stretch to say he's the best prospect that we have seen in Major League Baseball at his age in over a decade. Probably since Bryce Harper. I mean, he is that talented of an individual, and he just had, and even the best players on planet Earth, the best baseball players will have a 30 at-bat sample where they, they hit a $130. They hit 200, a 200. They don't hit the ball out of the ballpark. And that's what's happened to Connor Griffin since he's gotten called up. But remember, this is the same guy that the 2 weeks prior, he started his season at AAA, hit 438 with a 1.196 OPS. So while people are saying, oh, well, he's having a bad start to the season, well, he actually had a tremendous start to the season. Hit 438 in 16 at-bats for the Indianapolis Indians, a 1.196 OPS. So far in the big leagues, probably pressing a little bit out of the gate. 138 batting average with 4 RBIs and only a 407 OPS. I am confident that will change. He's just too good for that to not change. And so I'm going to buy in now because here's the thing. He had those first couple series where, it was a lot of hype. He had to deal with getting called up, the entire city of Pittsburgh celebrating his call up, doing all sorts of media and stuff like that. Listen, that's going to be tough for just about anyone. Goes to Wrigley this weekend. He's appearing on Barstool podcasts. That's a lot. This kid's 19 years old. Here, he gets to come back play at home in front of the home fans against one of the worst teams in the National League. Is Cade Cavalli a quality starting pitcher? Yeah, he's pretty good. I don't think he's someone that Griffin can't get a hit off of. He's good. And then you're going to have the Nationals who just really wore out their bullpen in a 3-game sweep of the Brewers. First of all, shout out Nats for going to Milwaukee and sweeping that series. But I still think that this is going to be one of the worst teams in Major League Baseball this year. And they're coming off of a sweep of the Brewers. So part of the reason I like the Pirates is that. And the other thing you have to understand here when you're betting a hitter prop is if the Nationals get behind early, this is they're up against Paul Skeens. This is probably the game where they wave the white flag. Let's say they go on the whole 3-0, like 4-2, and they're suddenly down. The Nationals are going to look at this series and say, we probably have a better chance to win on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. We just burned all of our bullpen arms sweeping the Brewers. I think you might see this game. You might see the Pirates, unless they're or the Nationals, unless they're in the lead, which against Skeens is unlikely. I think you see the back end bullpen guys here, a lot of which, would probably be similar caliber to some of the guys that Connor Griffin racked up a 1.1 OPS against at the AAA level. So I love this spot for Griffin to have success. So I'm going to call it, I think 2 hit runs RBIs is close to like even money. I almost think you could ladder it and just see if he has his breakout game. So we'll go Connor Griffin ladder here. I will tag the one closest to even money on the free picks page. We've been 1-1 in this segment for a couple days now. So let's sweep it with both of those. And again, check out my page at WagerTalk. I will tag this video with my favorite play from the video under the free pick section. And then, of course, I will have a best bet for today that will be up on my page. And you can get that as soon as it comes out on any of the all access packages. So keep an eye out for that. Hope you guys have a great day. We'll be back here 9 a.m. Eastern tomorrow morning for more total bases. And then keep an eye out for another under the radar. Drop a like, subscribe, and then in the comments, let me know if there's a player that you think should be on my radar that I haven't talked about that. We will incorporate them into this segment. Have a great day, everyone. We'll see you guys tomorrow.